Hello! Welcome to Deep into a Caribbean Book. I am Yaritza Barbosa, your host for this program about books. And I am a reading lover. I want to talk today about it looks like a special program, but it's always about Caribbean books. October is a special month for Dominica. It's a tradition that on the previous week of the commemoration of their independence, that's on November the 3rd, Creole festivities take streets. We wanted to be part of these activities. In today's episode, we will talk about Most Wanted, this book by Dominican writer Christborne Shillingford, and encourage you to discover one more Caribbean author. Mr. Christborne Shillingford, he was born in Dominica in 1959 and currently lives in his country, Dominica. Most Wanted was published in 2007. The book, with 148 pages, is about street stories from the Caribbean. In Most Wanted, there are in total 33 stories, all connected under a narrated first-person character, an investigator, a private detective, dedicated to chronicling the Caribbean adventures with his own style. You should read these crime stories because they keep your attention with the same enthusiasm that this amateur detective pushes you with situations of joys and sorrows of Caribbean people. I would like to share two stories from this book. Let's start with the one called Most Wanted on page 32. Yes, the title of this story is the same as the book. Most Wanted. Let me tell you, it was never my intention to blow my own trumpet. But if I don't blow it, who will? After all, it's mine. So now I have clarified that aspect. Some persons, known and unknown, want me to entertain them with my down-to-earth and most significantly original stories. And because so much of the entertainment on television is foreign to our natural, cultural, and heritage, there is a belief that products, services, and things in general, made or done locally, are inferior to what is in the foreign marketplace. Now, you are reading these stories, you will have to agree that I have killed that myth for good. Do I have your support? I should. Do you know some persons that I confine in even comment me and say, boy, you good way. You really is an investigator and writer of class. And ask, how do you do it? Well, for now, that is my top secret. Some even suggest and propose new assignments for me to take on. They range from the bold and daring to just plain ridiculous and crazy. Like, for example, some put forward a behind-the-scenes look at how the white powder enters our nature aisle, legally or illegally. Others say investigate the rumors surrounding our famous police inquiry. My answers are always, I know my limits. And I do. Trust me. And about some of the ridiculous missions, some wife asks me to surveillance their husbands to find out why their husbands stay or pretend to stay at work late. And when they come home, why they cannot do their homework, and vice versa. Some husbands ask me to find out what goes on at home while they are sweating to earn that make their spouses act like deep freezes when they come home in a good, excitable mood. Have they lost that loving feeling? But this kind of private detective work is not my kind of bag. Check somebody else. And as should be evident, I am certainly non-political. When election time comes around, I just go into the polling booth and make my X at random, any port for a storm. But even with my neutrality, I still run into difficulties. Let me tell you something semi-political that occurred to me recently that caused me to realize just how badly I was really wanted. I just saw last week, for example, I was making the observation that Dominica is a very big island to my small brain, because there are so many communities that are almost non-existent to me. It is like I could get lost in Dominica like it was in New York. You know what I mean? I guess you do. So, being and feeling adventurous, I decided to visit a certain unfamiliar hamlet on our northwest coastline and spend some bucks there. I parked my old jalopy on the outskirts of the hamlet in question and strolled into that little village like a cowboy. It really felt so, I'm not joking, so why are you giggling? And it looked like a ghost town, except for a little child that I saw standing in a doorway, but who was so violently pulled inside by unseen hands, and the door slammed shut. I started to feel self-conscious and paranoid. I heard the clumping sound of my footsteps rather profoundly and felt that numerous pairs of eyes were peering at me. I'm blind, through keyholes, etc. I got the uncanny impression that the villagers were on a very shy disposition. I heard some sporadic activity in the center of the village and home in on it. As I approached, something occurred that I didn't expect. Someone hollered out my code name. I frightened but recognized the voice. It was someone who knew me exceptionally well. And at that point, some strange developments began to materialize. The residents commenced emerging from their various homes like zombies. But all of a sudden, the mood changed to the extreme opposite, and I suddenly felt like a big movie star or president or a prime minister, well-wishers and the media, etc. What actually occurred is my partner had unwittingly blown the whistle on my true incognito identity, because everybody comments congratulating me and commending my work and asking open questions, like I was some prime time media star. They ask questions like, have I been there and done that? Trying to be brief and straight to the point, I summarized it all by saying, my writings are more or less true lies. Listen, are you with me? Imagine some of the new crop of youth in the village even saw my autograph, and to prove their reverence for me and my works, some grown-ups offered to buy all my drinks, just like that. Thus, I entered the sole rum shop in the village, and drinks commenced going down in quick succession. But the contrary part, you have to listen to these two last moments of this very entertaining story. Suddenly, the happy talk took a drastic turn, degenerating into politics. The debate quickly became intense, and in the midst of it all, someone asked which political party I support. I thought, damn, and looked up to heaven through the ceiling and asked God silent, why? So, not wanting to displease any of my fans, I said like a big-time Rasta man, I'm a neutral thing, a discharged supporter of a particular party, wasn't pleased by my answer. Slamming a cutlass, I didn't see where it materialized from on the counter of its flat side. Blowy, he demanded. Find a gear or else. Now, just let's have a break and you will listen the final of this entertaining story. we are back here with the book Most Wanted. Let's just finish the story about Most Wanted. I'm sure you want to listen what happened. Boy, I racked my mental gearbox and found a gear. It was full speed. Reverse! I need immediately to get out of there. So I made a quick exit, flying through the closest shop window and jumped on my horse, my old jalopy, and sped away at full reps into the setting sun. So now you know why I keep so much of a low profile on politics. So this is one of those 30 and more stories of Most Wanted by Dominican writer Christborne Shillingford. But let's just mention something about this book. You can Google, if you want, Google Most Wanted book, and you will read the following. Introducing the Caribbean's very own and very amateur private detective and his tussles with the drug dealers, cops, rastamen, ghosts, girlfriends, and dogs who cross his path. These short stories are from a new voice in crime fiction. Shillingford's tales come straight from the block, an irreverent look from the streets of Dominica. So let's read the second story I have for you from the book. The one I choose is The Guada Connection on page 83. The Guada Connection. Let me tell you, Guada is a short name for Guadalupe. After the report of my close shave in Montego Bay, I was contacted by a leading newspaper editor who told me, I want you to investigate the backdoor connection between Dominica and Guadeloupe. I was so taken aback. I said to him, "You bound to be joking? I nearly get 5 years jail for my fastness in Montego Bay. What you trying, no?" Anyway, after enough argument, he managed to convince me that I should give it a try. Well, to start from scratch, I wanted to do it right and safe. Therefore, I went to the French consulate for a visa. I wanted to be legal, but then I learned that I have to go all the way to St. Lucia for a visa. So I was left with no alternative but to go the real illegal way. I found a partner, a drug trafficker, who was a veteran in the backdoor runnings. He assured me that he had a safe and reliable captain to traffic us across the channel. So we made our preparations. We hired a transport, and late after sundown went down the west coast to a certain village where he purchased some weights of pure top-class wheat, Sensi. I plead to my newfound friend that I didn't want to fall and take jail in Guadeloupe? He told me, relax, I know what I'm doing. I replied, oh, okay, Paul, being not too convinced. We went farther down, past Portsmouth, making a detour around the police station to the Gulf, where our captain was waiting a few other passengers. I found trafficking of passengers to be a very lucrative venture. We paid the captain well over $500. We were 7 passengers in all. I found comfort in the number 7. I thought it to be a lucky number. We began our journey on the waters close to midnight. I was filled with apprehension. I didn't know what to expect. We were traveling in pitch black darkness. It was a moonless night. After beating waters for some time, the engines suddenly cut off. I said, damn, don't tell me we have engine trouble already. I didn't fancy the idea of drifting to the high seas. Just also came to my mind. The captain said, shh, everybody quiet. It was then I heard the low drone of an engine, but I couldn't see anything. It took a while before I could recognize a big black shape passing across the bow of our rather small fishing boat. It was apparently the Coast Guard, with no navigation lights, looking for people like us. I realized the captain did know his onions. Not long after, we restarted our engine and continued our travels. But when we reached the real channel, boy, look, big wave. Man, I saw wave big like the ministerial building. Serious. I was kapong, scared to my wits' end. But I noticed that my fellow travelers were quite calm. I asked my partner if the channel was always so. He answered, usually. I started praying silently. Today, I am still convinced that it was my prayers that saw us through. After X amount of hours, we passed the Saints, those are Guadeloupe Islands, and I noticed other lights ahead. My partner confirmed to me, that is Guadeloupe. So we got out our stuff together. Both our clothes and goods were wrapped in plastic bags to prevent them from getting wet, because my friend had forewarned me that we might have to swim for it. In retrospect, I have reached this conclusion that all who ply these waters regularly or often in this mode of transportation are indeed living dangerously. While we were still a far distance from land, it looked like A mile to me, I am not that good at estimated distances. But the captain ordered, "Jump overboard." I refused. Point blank. I said, "No way. You must be mad. I'm not going and make no headlines tomorrow for them to say, 'Man's body was fished out of Guadalupe's waters.'" The captain retorted, "You want them French men to seize my boat, man?" But I remained adamant. Reluctantly, he went closer, then asked if it was okay for me. While I was trying to make up my mind, saying, "Well, let me see," he suddenly pushed me overboard, jump, together with my belongings. I now had no choice. Well, the swim to shore was uneventful, but I was longing for my feet to touch dry land. Eventually it did. We dressed and immediately made for higher ground. When we reached the road, I saw the whiff of it. It was like, wow, Alice in Wonderland. I was so freaked out that I nearly got spotted by the first vehicle that appeared. My partner shouted, "Doc, don't let the lights flash on you." I dived into a bush by the roadside just in the nick of time. My accomplice explained that if the gendarmes saw anybody walking that particular area at this time of night, they were sure to get picked up. So we were extremely careful as we made our way to bus stop, where we took a bus to the capital, Pointe-à-Pitre. When the extent of progress and development going on registered in my head, I felt like a true country boy. I noted that Dominica and Guadeloupe were comparable to chalk and cheese when it came to movements. I often used to wonder what it was in the Guada that dazzled our youth. So now I know. But my first appearance on the famous chemin de fer, Iron Street, so named because of the old railroad iron tracks laid there, was quite dramatic. I saw fellas scattering all over the place. I asked my tour guide what had happened. He laughed and explained that it was a case of mistaken identity. He said that I had an uncanny resemblance to a fair, notorious French police officer popularly known as Fly. When the radicals recover their wits, things return to normal. I saw all sorts of bad elements buying and selling drugs. I put on my baddest attitude. I remember the saying, when in Rome, do as Romans do. I witnessed drugs selling like hot bread. I said, no wonder then drug lords are so big up or wealthy back in the DA. I met a youth man that I knew well back home. We greet each other with a knuckle tap. He then proceeded to give me a rundown on his recent activities in Guadeloupe. He confessed, among other bad deeds, that he especially enjoyed bois-cailloux. That's a Creole word, means robbing. French people saying how he could tear gas them and grab their gold chains and run. He gave me valuable information. I sympathized with him and said, I can understand the sin man. You is mad fella, but the way Dominica is was younger, I could be just like you. Most probably. But hear that. Around 2 days later, while I was there just chilling on the block, taking in the scene, a ride just pulled up. I do not know what transpired because I don't understand the French language fluently, but I saw them man pull out guns and start to exchange hot lead in the ghetto. Believe or not, I was caught in a crossfire. You believe it is a joke. I don't know how I did it, but miraculously, I got away without a shot. When the action subsided, I said to myself, that is it. My boy, enough is enough. I had got more than I bargained for. My partner told me that he was going back to, by boat. I said, shaking my head, what, not me. How did I return? Tricks of the trade, my friend. I gave myself to the French immigration authorities. I told them straight that I was an illegal alien who wanted to be deported. Then tried their best to interrogate me, but not to no avail. I couldn't understand why they were saying and vice versa. So they put me on a plane to Caneville, that's a Dominican airport. It took just 25 minutes and I was back home, safe and sound. So this is a very entertaining story. We finished with the Guada connection and we finished this part of the program. We will have a short break and come back to you again in Deep into a Caribbean Book. Hello, welcome again. I am Yaritza Barbosa, your host for Deep into a Caribbean Book. Join us, remember, join us on Facebook page Deep into a Caribbean Book, DIACB, on YouTube and ComCTV, and always remember to endorse our program. It is natural that people get motivated to do something that they are good at. Think about it. When was the last time you wanted to do something you weren't good at? I am aware of how frustrating it is to see young people and adults hate books while you love to read, trying to convince them to read knowing that it's really not going to work. So if you are going to encourage someone to read, read too. Read for pleasure. Read for information. Read blogs. Read instructions, read comics, and read to connect with others, but read. I learned from a very young age that reading can relax, engage, and amuse. I started because, as I think everybody, it was compulsory in school. But I realized I didn't dislike reading, unlike my classmates, some of them, or even members of my family. I remember one of my friends, when I was at high school, she asked me to read for her a book and explain that book was Cien Años de Soledad by the Colombian writer Gabriel Garcia Marquez, since her teacher asked her to do so for a literature test. But after I reading it for the second time, I like it even more because I discover issues that I didn't see when I read it on the first time. And that's very fascinating when you rediscover a book. Allow me to give you some tips to feel motivated to reading something that you really enjoy, because that's what you have to do. Read what you feel comfortable and with pleasure. So first, you should read different things at different times. Depends on your mood, of course. 2, you can divide by topic and read books on other topics depending of the situation, or, as I said, of your mood or where you are. 3, always carry a book on your bedside table, but as well on your bag or at your office. But it might be better if you don't have over 3 books by your on your bed, but always one book. It doesn't matter, but choose this one, for example. This is very good one. Very entertaining while you are waiting for a dentist. That's relax. Try to get fiction books, some that you can easily slide into, that are calming and relaxing. I would like to insist on this book, Most Wanted, but as well to read one more story. I know I said only 2 stories, but let's just read one more. Tell me if you don't want to listen another one. Let's just find I'm not reading the whole story, but it's just to awake the curiosity of the continuity of the next story. For example, Confessions. Taking a break from my busy schedule a couple months ago, I was walking around town for a breather when I came across this old situation. He was a far cry from the person that I once knew. He was a person who had it all but didn't appear to have it all again. After giving me a fist-tagged street greeting, he asked me to loan him a tenfer. But before endorsing the loan, I had to ask him, "Boy, what really happened to you? You wasn't so before." He shook his head and said, "Man, I paro out." His honesty made an instant impression. Addicts don't usually accept that they do have a problem. Addicts don't usually realize that the possibility of a good story. So I told him, "Let us go and drink a beer and tell me all about it." So that I could write all about it and you could then read all about it. So we went to the closest bar. People seeing me in the company of this character maybe said, "Mr. Parrot too." "But tell me something, what happened to your job?" I asked as we sat this drinking our beers. "So long I lose that," he replied. "How come you lose it?" "I don't really lost it. What no, I know where it is, but somebody else have it." I continue my line of inquiries. "So why they fire you?" "The boss man say I was touching his things," he said, sipping his beer. "What happened to the transport you had?" "I parro that man," he replied. What he meant was that he had sold it whole or in parts for cocaine. You see? "So what about the place you was renting?" And he was asking question and question and question. So that's a very interesting story that I just invite you to get the book to find the end of Confessions. But it's a really good one, and there are several words in Creole, that I recommend you this dictionary, Dominica's Dictionnaire. As you can see, it's a Creole, Anglais, English, Creole dictionary. I invite you, there are more than 8,000 entries with illustrations, Creole pronunciation. So that's a very good to learn. And as I told you at the beginning, October is a special month for Dominica. As you can see, we have a very beautiful painting by our good friend of mine. She is a Dominican painter as well. So Carol Sorrento always have their roots. She's a Dominican and she wants to keep the tradition as anybody here in Dominica. I just have a little madras as representing our celebrations in Dominica. Well, to conclude, I must say that reading books by Caribbean authors arouse your curiosity in knowing the places described in their narrative. This time, I invite you to read Most Wanted by Dominican writer Christborne Shillingford. But listen, I want to invite you as well to take your time to learn about Dominica history by, of course, Dr. Leonard Honeychurch. You can get this online, this information, the Dominica story, a story of the island. I'm sure we will have this Dr. Honeychurch with us on the following programs. This is the Dominica, the country where I live. And not only books by Dominican writers, we will speak in deep into a Caribbean book, but this is a special program today. About Mr. Shillingford, he gave special thanks to Mr. Alvin Bully and UNESCO for initial support. And the dedication is really beautiful. I like the dedication. And let me read it for you. To the memory of my parents, who gave me their all, and to my God, who enlightened my darkness. Beautiful. If you want to know more about authors of Dominica, there is an anthology compiled by Mr. Alec Lazar of all literary works by Dominican writers from 1920 to 2020. We, the Theme into a Caribbean book with another part of the team, Kay Luisi, here with us. She is behind the camera. We all together want to promote a love of reading, and maybe just what you need, get inspired to read or even become an author one day. So this is the third episode, and I hope you continue to support our work here, even because it's not only promoting books, but inviting you to read, and read for pleasure, deep into a Caribbean book. Thank you for being there, and just cheers.